The television flickered, stuck on a channel with no reception. Static buzzed, the only sound in the room. Moments ago, Sara had screamed. Now there was nothing but an unsettling silence. The air hung heavy, thick with a strange energy that crackled like the static on the screen. The room felt different, smaller, as if the walls were closing in. The floral wallpaper, once a charmingly outdated touch, now seemed grotesque. It pulsed faintly, the stylized roses appearing to breathe. The faint scent of mildew, ever present in the room, was now overpowering, mixed with something sickly sweet, something rotten. The silence was absolute, broken only by the incessant buzzing from the television. It was the silence of death. Sara was gone, but not entirely. Her essence, her fear, her very being was absorbed by the room. It was a slow, insidious process. She could feel the rough texture of the wallpaper against her skin, even though she was no longer sure she had skin. Her vision blurred, the room's faded floral patterns imprinted onto her sight. She was part of the walls now, the floor, the ceiling, trapped within the motel room's structure, a silent, helpless prisoner. She experienced everything the room felt, the constant hunger, the insatiable desire for life, for energy, for souls. Sara was gone, replaced by something monstrous, something ancient and hungry. The entity that resided within the motel room wasn't a ghost, not anymore. It had been once, long ago. Now it was something far worse. The countless souls it had consumed had twisted it, moulded it into a grotesque amalgamation of fear and despair. It had no true form. Only shifting shadows and whispers of half-remembered faces. Its eyes, too many, too bright, watched from the walls, the ceiling, reflecting the terror of those it had devoured. The room itself was the monster, and it was hungry. The rusty sign outside flickered, its neon message barely visible: vacancy. A beat-up sedan pulled into the motel parking lot, its headlights cutting through the darkness. The driver, a young man named David, stepped out, weary from a long drive. He had been driving for hours, desperate for a place to rest. The motel, despite its dilapidated state, was a welcome sight. He walked into the dimly lit office, the air thick with the smell of mildew and something else he couldn't quite place. He rang the bell on the counter, the sound echoing through the empty office. Section 5, David's Dread. The door to room 6 creaked open, revealing a space that seemed frozen in time. The air was stale, heavy with the scent of decay and something faintly sweet, like overripe fruit. David shivered, a sudden wave of unease washing over him. He couldn't shake off the feeling that he was being watched. He set his bag down on the worn carpet, the sound unnaturally loud in the silence. The television flickered to life, the static buzzing like a swarm of angry insects. He tried to turn it off, but it wouldn't respond. David felt a chill crawl up his spine. There was something wrong with this room, something deeply unsettling. Section 6. The room's embrace. The shadows in the room seemed to deepen, stretching towards David like grasping claws. The floral wallpaper pulsed, the stylized roses twisting into grotesque parodies of nature. The air grew colder, a bone-chilling cold that seemed to seep into his very marrow. He tried to move, to escape, but his limbs felt heavy, as if encased in lead. Panic welled up inside him, choking him. He was trapped, just like all the others before him. The room was alive, and it was hungry. Section 7. Consumed. David screamed, a desperate primal sound that was swallowed whole by the room. He clawed at the walls, but they offered no purchase. The wallpaper felt strangely organic beneath his fingertips, like cold, clammy skin. The shadows engulfed him, pulling him down into the darkness. He caught glimpses of faces within the patterns of the wallpaper, eyes filled with a terror that mirrored his own. Then, silence. The room was quiet again, the only sound the faint buzzing of the television. David was gone, his life force absorbed by the hungry entity within the walls. Section 8. A glimmer of Sara. For a fleeting moment, as David's life force was consumed, a flicker of Sara's consciousness sparked within the room's essence. She saw him, felt his terror, experienced his agonizing demise. A surge of despair, her own and his combined, washed over her. Then, as quickly as it had surfaced, her awareness was extinguished, pulled back into the monstrous consciousness of the room. She was lost. Another brick in the wall of suffering, her own identity fading into the endless cycle of horror. Section 9. The cycle continues. The television in room 6 flickered, static dancing across the screen. The floral wallpaper pulsed faintly, the roses appearing to breathe. The scent of mildew hung heavy in the air, tinged with a faint sweetness, the lingering aroma of fear and decay. The room was quiet now, but its hunger was far from sated. It patiently awaited its next victim, its monstrous essence lying in wait beneath a veneer of normalcy. The cycle was set to repeat. Section 10. Another victim. Outside, the neon sign flickered again, casting a sickly green glow on the cracked asphalt. A lone figure emerged from the darkness, drawn to the motel's promise of cheap lodging and a warm bed. He didn't see the shadowy figure with too many eyes watching him from the window of room 6, its grin a grotesque mockery of a smile. The cycle continues.